A couple things before we start. First, we finally managed to get a microphone. It's the first video I'm recording with this element, so if the audio doesn't come out so well, I'll try to improve it from the result of this video. Second, I forgot to send shoutouts to Tomas Mania, who made the first fanart of this channel. Once again, I'm sorry and the picture is beautiful. You're amazing, dude. Go subscribe to his channel, link in the description. Third, no, this is not the special video I said I was going to do. That one is still in process. I'm doing it because I got a lot of requests for it and because there's an important message I didn't end up portraying in my last video. You'll now see what I'm talking about. In my last SMG4 video, I said that Final Hours was no longer my least favorite SMG4 episode and that I would send shoutouts to people who guessed what my new least favorite episode was when I talked about that episode. Which do you think was the most named episode so far? Even though the main announcement in that video is that I will no longer be watching any SMG4 episode in 2023, as 90% of the people who tried to guess said it was the new movie It's Gotta Be Perfect, which I obviously hadn't seen, yet you insisted and insisted that I had to watch it. Just to be clear, this is the only time I'm going to break that rule. The explanation I gave in my previous video still holds up. I didn't want to watch it in the first place because I already knew what I was going to come across. A product made to sell with mediocre humor, exaggerated animation, a hypocritical story, and surely some redesign or big negative change as they're used to with almost every story they make. However, in the end, I decided to watch it as you requested and yes, it was all that. But I found a lot more things to talk about and conclusions to come up with than I thought there would be at first. In some way, I have to thank you for asking me to watch it. This film made me think about something I didn't realize before, or something I did realize but didn't question that much, which is the style of criticism I have on this channel. You know, there are cases where you like a piece of entertainment so much that it makes you feel very positive emotions, but slowly things start transforming. You start to notice abrupt changes in designs and places, the characters become unrecognizable, the humor loses its charm and becomes more cringe than funny, the animation and visual quality improves for the worse, making everything look over-exaggerated, the tone in general feels flatter and dull, and the stories have millions of plot holes here and there which become insulting. Suddenly, it feels like it's gone from being inspired, heartfelt material to an atrocious product whose only purpose is to make money and that constantly shows the middle finger to everything it once was. Watching this new product being a fan of what it used to be for obvious reasons usually generates things like anxiety and frustration, and when it reaches a very high point of mediocrity, it is not weird to watch it while feeling something called anger. Much like how positive emotions are reflected in love and support, anger and frustration are manifested through hatred, and hatred usually generates violence. From there comes aggression, fights, insults, incomprehensibility, destruction, attacks from hegemonic media, neoliberal speeches, you know, all of that. Living with hatred and resentment leads to having to manifest those feelings in some way or another. So it's not weird to suddenly find yourself involved in a comment thread on a social network debating to death with groups of obsessive fans who don't know how to argue or write, or people who are simply expressing their opinion, who aren't insulting anyone and aren't doing anything wrong really, even if you think their arguments aren't the best. There's a point where you've spent hours and hours arguing, fighting with random people on social media and you just can't stop. At that point you clearly won't realize because you've lost control unless someone tells you. You don't realize that hatred only sparks more hatred. This is something that can happen to anyone, of course. I was banned several times from the SMG4 community for being so aggressive, and this was around 2021, for me the worst era of SMG4 and, surprise surprise, the time when I couldn't be angrier with it. It wasn't until I watched this movie that I questioned if I had crossed the line and... For those of you who don't know, SMG4 did a 100-hour livestream in March 2023 in which there was a countdown to the day their movie would be released. Though before releasing it, they made a 4-minute advertisement in which you can tell they were criticized a lot, as in the advert they basically changed the design of some characters, particularly the human Maggie one, I don't know why, and the ones of the characters that had been remodeled at the end of War of the Fat Italians 2022, which we talked about in my previous video. Already from this advert you can tell that they took the criticism very seriously, and it's not surprising at all, completely changing the appearance of characters that have appeared for years and years, especially SMG4 and SMG3, one of the two protagonists and the main villain. They've been in the channel for more than 12 real-life years. The 4 characters are veterans and are very loved by the SMG4 community. In fact, these redesigns were criticized much more than I thought they would be. It wasn't just the classic fans. Even the modern SMG4 community was very unhappy with these changes. They crossed such a big line that even modern fans had no mercy to these redesigns. I could almost say that they were the main ones to criticize them in fact. We all thought the same thing about them. SMG4 and SMG3s are really ugly, Boopkins is unwatchable, and Bob's was the only one to be accepted because it looked pretty nice and all that, so it was the only one they didn't change. I could go on about how the problem is not really how they look, but the fact that they decided to modify such veteran characters, but I already detailed it all in my previous video and I don't want to sound redundant. The point is that the mere fact that they made such an announcement and that they even laughed at Boopkins' design, which was the most criticized of them all, makes you realize that they really took the criticisms very seriously. This was one of the first times they actually did what the community asked them to. Basically because their entire community was asking them to. This is for those who say that Luke and Kevin don't listen to the community. Yes, they always listen to it. The thing is that there's always a very big polarization when it comes to things like modern versus classic SMG4 or ships or stuff like that. There are always two very big and very polarized sides. In this case, almost the entire modern community disliked the fact that they had completely redesigned such beloved characters, let alone the classic community. After watching that ad, you'll probably say, well, maybe they do listen to their community. Maybe they are affected by criticism. But it's not the ad that's going to make that clear to you. It's the film itself. In this movie, SMG4 is tired of making regular videos, and he wants to make the video. He's super hellbent on making an undeniably perfect video. One that everyone likes, a video so perfect that it can't get negative reviews. A thing that is beyond your imagination, because really there is no perfect video, no one is perfect. Well, don't mind me, we won't start contradicting the whole movie. The point is that he stays locked in his room making that video and he starts to get mad and frustrated because he cannot find the perfect video. Because it's never enough for him. He sees the final result and he's never satisfied. It needs to be more. He needs to make it so much better than that. And at one point, a weird ad appears on Google to buy a wicked keyboard that is supposed to help him edit his videos better. What could possibly go wrong? So he buys it immediately, which is understandable due to his mental stage. Big mistake, because this keyboard basically possesses him, multiplies by 100 his madness and his need to make the perfect video, and literally turns him into a monster's nest. A monster that won't let him escape until he finishes that video. Until he makes it absolutely perfect. When his friends find out about this, SMG3, Mario and Human Maggie get into the castle to try to stop and rescue him, while the rest of the cast stays outside, at first to stop this monster that is stretching all over the castle, but then they realize that the monster is a dumbass and won't kill them, and that if they stay out there watching it, it won't hurt them at all. When it could try to kill them or absorb them, but nah, let's not do that, there's no need. So Swag, Chris and their army full of tanks show up to blow the monster up. And in the middle of the movie, the cast's mission becomes stopping them from destroying the castle, not only because it's their home, but because 4 of their friends are still inside. Mario, Human Maggie and SMG3 get to SMG4's room and he's not there. They realize he moved to the top of the castle. I guess that tiny room got him overwhelmed. So they have to go from the bottom to the top of the castle until they get to SMG4 and try to stop him. The rest of the castle seems to be normal, until they reach a part where all the paintings are replaced by posters containing messages like "Nobody likes your videos, you're a failure, quit, you'll never be good enough." And it is SMG3 the first one to realize that it was SMG4 himself who wrote those messages on the walls. This is something that really touches SMG3's heart. Mario and the human don't get it at first. He explains to them that he understands all the pressure a content creator goes through every day thinking about how their community feels. That he understands that fear of making a bad decision and suddenly having a large part of your community against you. This scene is genuinely powerful. I could almost say it perfectly sums up what I want to talk about in this video. No matter how much advertising or publicity they make, a constant content creator doesn't create for money. They do it because it's a passion, something they enjoy and want to share with lots of people. And when you create something you love and are passionate about, believe me, nothing makes you more excited that the people around you enjoy it too. You can't force people to like what you do, and that's why when you do it, when you start getting nice comments from people who say that they would like to see more of that content, even if there are not that many people, knowing that with your work and your effort you're making many people happy is a feeling that is incomparable to anything else. It's not just a nice feeling, it also makes you want to keep creating. Constantly creating content makes your community grow and can lead to thousands of possibilities. This makes you have to make a lot of decisions, some of which can be drastic and not everyone is going to agree with everything you do. Obviously, you will not always be able to generate positive reactions in people, but when many of your decisions are disliked by your community, This can generate a very big discomfort in it that leads to boredom, disappointment, abandonment, constructive criticism, or messages like the ones that SMG4 hang on the walls of the castle, or even worse. Just as seeing that many people enjoy what you do makes you very happy, this kind of reaction, especially when they come from your own community, is something that can make you feel very bad. Sometimes even one negative comment can make your mood worse, so imagine receiving that kind of comments every day. Especially when you're used to all that love from your community, to suddenly have so many people writing comments like that every day can really give you a hard time. It's not weird for all those comments to turn into thoughts that keep popping into your head. Guys, I tell you from experience that just as affection usually sparks more affection, hatred only sparks more hatred. And this scene showcases that in a rather subtle way. This scene actually could have made me feel bad, if not for the fact that the example SMG3 gives for the hate he caused is literally what happened in the YouTube arc. Yeah, what could I expect from modern SMG4? And you know what goes next?
What? No, I don't care about him. I only feel like this because I'm cosmically linked to the idiot.
Aw, SMG3, it's okay. Let it out.
Hey, let go of me, you damn
Sorry, but you really don't know how hard it is not to get angry after watching this kind of stuff. There's honestly not much else to highlight in the film. Aside from a couple scenes, like when they find the original SMG4 design stuck on a wall and they think the SMG4 wants to turn his old design back, which is obviously a reference to all the hate they got for changing their design, even though they had already shown that with the amount of times they laughed at the redesigned stuff. Then there are one or two more emotional speeches that are sort of redundant but necessary to the plot. The point is, after some emotional words, they manage to restore SMG4's mental health, and he thanks them and apologizes for all the chaos he caused. Then Mario and Human Maggie manage to escape through a window, but SMG4 is not able to get out because that monster prevents him from leaving until he finishes that perfect video, so SMG3 stays to help him finish it. Meanwhile, the people outside realize that there's no way to stop the monster other than literally blowing it up. So they put a bunch of bombs, that I don't know where they got, all around the castle and... the castle starts to sink into a void, and SMG4 and SMG3 manage to finish the video just in time. They manage to escape, but the video falls into the void alongside the castle. Everyone is happy to see that they managed to get out, but they're also sad to see that the castle is no longer there. Mario has the obvious reasoning that he destroys the castle all the time and that it could appear at any moment again, but...
something tells me the castle won't be returning anytime soon.
I think that something is called script. So yes, obviously the conclusion of the episode is that they can no longer use Peach's castle either. Well, that and everything I explained a moment ago. Unfortunately, Luke's words at the end of the episode didn't make me understand anything I hadn't understood before. Especially because it wasn't even 30 seconds before he started promoting the merchandise of the new movie and I already lost all interest. So I finished watching the video as expected with a rather sour taste in my mouth. Aside from the message, this video didn't offer me anything I haven't seen in any other modern SMG4 episode. Except for a lesson, I guess. Look, this thing about hatred never resolving things in a good way is something I've been learning over the last few years, and not exactly thanks to this film. However, I never associated that with my own style of criticizing when talking about SMG4 in general. But when I finished watching It's Gotta Be Perfect, I started checking some of my older videos and some comments and posts I made on the SMG4 Reddit community and... okay, now I understand what they were talking about. After all of this, I came to a conclusion that I felt was very important to explain, and it's the real reason why I'm making this video. If you were expecting me to rant this movie to death and throw it to the garbage with all my fury and explain everything horrible about it and about a modern SMG4 as I do with every episode, look, this video is not going to be your favorite at all. When I say my hatred for SMG4 is over, it doesn't mean I'm going to stop criticizing them. Everything I said in my last video still holds up, guys. I still have topics to talk about. I want to express my opinion about SMG4. I want to keep explaining why so many people and I think the channel is not as good as it used to be. But there are many ways to explain it, and the way I've been using so far in my videos and in comments I've made, I don't think it's the right way to do it anymore. No matter how right you are or how solid your arguments are, that aggression when explaining things usually sparks a similar reaction, especially in people who agree with what you say. So these people start acting the same way, and you end up stimulating and sparking that anger in people that is only reflected in similar ways, like hurtful comments or insults. And the more insults a person receives, the sadder they end up feeling, so they start believing something that they are doing is wrong and try to, no, I don't want things to get solved like that. Even if you have a point in a discussion, if the way you want to solve it is with insults, is making the other person understand things because you made them feel bad, believe me that it won't solve anything, it will just make it worse. So yes, I'm going to keep criticizing modern SMG4 and I will try to make people understand at least my point of view. I'll try to make Luke and Kevin understand somehow that the problem is not them. That modern SMG4 is not inherently bad. It's not like it's bad for not being what it was before or for having dramatic stories. But we believe that all the things they do nowadays, from the humor to the stories to the editing to the characters, all those things have been totally dropping in quality since 2019 and 2020, and that this new series, because it's really not the same series as before, doesn't even feel like something inspired or something that they really care about being well done anymore. I would like to explain the reason why we classic fans feel so insulted by this new channel and by all the things they're doing. In fact, It's Gotta Be Perfect is a great example of that. Yes, if I talked about it, I'm going to shortly review it, obviously. What do you want me to say? I obviously didn't like it. I could talk about how little sense the story makes sometimes, how insufferable the humor is in many occasions, mention that it's impossible to see the characters and think they're the same as they were a couple years ago. Except Swag, he was really great. I could mention that I've seen punching bags being treated better than SMG3, continuing almost 3 years later with that stubborn, immature idea that all what happened in the YouTube arc is his fault, and as if he had no reason to have any remorse for them. I could mention the horrifying animation during the whole video, and I'm not lying when I tell you my eyes had a hard time processing that, all thanks to that wrong idea that the more quote-unquote similar to reality, the better it looks. I could mention some plot holes here and there, actions they repeat over and over again and end up losing their charm, and I could complain that everything was made to introduce their new redesigns and to leave behind another very important element as Peach's castle to keep selling merch, yada yada yada. But believe me when I tell you that it's not worth it, it's redundant, and I'm just going to be contradicting all the things I talked about in this video. I only liked a few things about it, like some jokes, basically every moment where Swag was on screen, who was by far the best and, why not, the only good character in this episode. I don't know, they used some visual effects they hadn't used in years, so extra points I guess. And luckily Melanie wasn't mocking around this time, so one less disturbance. Oh, and the final punchline was very funny and unpredictable. What a great one. The final rating, it's the same as always. The message of this film is important and perfectly understandable, and it has a couple positives, but unfortunately it suffers from all the consequences that take being part of modern SMG4. There you go, that's my review, there's really no need to go much farther. So yeah, that's the conclusion of the video. Thank you very much for recommending me to watch this movie. Now I see that it was very important to make this video and I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for you guys. From now on, I am going to change my way of conveying what I want to say and giving my arguments. Don't worry, all the opinions I had about modern SMG4 I still have and I will continue to talk about them. But as I said, hating doesn't solve things. If you're angry now because you prefer the villain nostalgia who yells, who insults, who throws every episode to the garbage and who says the exact same thing about everything, this sucks ass, this is horrible, this is the worst, well, look, unsubscribe, go away, I don't care, but hatred is not an argument, hatred is violence. I am not a violent person, in fact in my daily life I am the opposite. I don't want to keep giving an image of myself that doesn't represent me at all. And I neither want to find out that, thanks to the criticism, now the Lerwichagle brothers are having a hard time, they develop some kind of depression or something and suddenly they don't want to make videos anymore. If someone that I once insulted or made fun of or any of these things is watching me, I want you to know that I am very sorry for how I behaved. I think that anonymity lets you say whatever you want without measuring the consequences. And if you're a follower of this channel, again, thank you very much. I hope you understand this decision. I hope you can understand why things are always better solved with respect and comprehension and not with insults and hurtful messages. This is something I don't want to happen on my channel anymore and I will most probably put some videos as unlisted because there's just hatred everywhere and nothing else. So having this in mind, we can go for more. See you in the next video. Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. I will try to find a good format so you can all try to guess which you think is my new least favorite SMG4 episode. Now that you know it's gotta be perfect, it's not. Although I'm more than sure that it's going to take me months to talk about that episode, so we've still got a while. And if you vote, please let me know if you want shoutouts or not, because I wouldn't like to mention someone who in the end didn't want to be in the video, you know. We'll see later what we do, but please, it's not any episode from 2023 onwards. Now, thank you so much for watching this video. Thanks again to the Reddit user you see on screen for the outro. Good night and see you in the next video. This time, hateless. So they put a bunch of bombs, that I don't know where they got, all around the castle and BOOM! What the fuck did I just do? Obviously I'm not going to put that in. I'm going to replace it with a bomb sound effect. I hope no one heard that. I hope no one is listening to this.